Hello, everyone. It's NeoUnrealist. Oh no! Oh no! What is this? What is going on? The Terminator franchise looks like it's been terminated. Over the weekend, this latest movie in the franchise, titled Terminator Dark Fate, opened in theaters around the world, and the movie had a whopping $185 million production cost. I mean, it's a lot of money to spend to make a movie, and that's without even the marketing costs. Remember that. That's just to make the film. They had to lay out $185 million to put this thing out, and it opened up to a dismal, an awful, pathetic $29 million on the opening weekend. All right, I know, to you and me, $29 million, it seems like a lot of money, but not when you shell out almost $200 million to make the film. $29 million is the kind of weekend that gets somebody fired in Hollywood. The Hollywood Reporter estimates that Terminator Dark Fate will lose somewhere between $110 and $130 million spread out between the companies that partnered to share the cost of making this woke mess. Skydance Media, Paramount Pictures, 20th Century Fox, though I guess Disney owns 20th Century Fox now, so the mouse is the one that's going to have to take the hit on this debacle. Hell, even Tencent over in China, they have a 10% piece of this box office dumpster fire. I mean, so yeah, Hollywood, keep tailoring your movies for that Chinese market. See how that works out for you. So, of course, Terminator Dark Fate, it's a historic flop. I mean, what did they think was going to happen? I mean, look, spoiler alerts here, people. I mean, I can't believe that I've got to talk about this piece of garbage. But I'm sure that most of you've seen the original Terminator films, over the years. And you have in your mind what the franchise is supposed to be. But in case you're not, let me relate to you just how badly these people have mangled this property beyond all recognition. So I gave you fair warning on potential spoilers, so here goes. While the movie is a disastrous mess of diversity, inclusion, and respect Watchmen tropes, the central figure of the Terminator lore, the heart of every movie ever made, in the Terminator universe, is the idea that in the future, an artificial intelligence becomes self-aware and comes to the conclusion that humanity is its enemy, because humanity can shut it off. Now, having gained control of the strategic nuclear arsenal of the United States, it launches a full-scale strike on Russia, knowing that the Russian counterattack will wipe out its human enemies in America. Now, this event, caused by the rogue AI known as Skynet, is known as Judgment Day in the films, and it, as you can imagine, wipes out billions of human beings in an instant. So in the lore of the first two films, this was supposed to have happened in 1997. Now, in the wake of that act, Skynet then sets out, sending out machines to round up and finish off any and all human survivors until the species goes extinct, presumably. But before the machines can accomplish that goal, one of the survivors, a man named John Connor, inspires and leads a resistance movement that winds up defeating the machines and saving humanity from that fate. Except as one of its final acts, Skynet, having researched and invented a time machine, sends a robotic cyborg assassin to find John Connor's mother, a woman named Sarah Connor, in the year 1984, and eliminate her before she can give birth to the man who will ultimately defeat the machines. So without delving any further into the lore, basically you can already see this John Connor guy, he sounds really important to the story, right? I mean, protecting and saving him has only been the central conflict of every movie in this franchise going back now over 30 years. So naturally, opening this movie and having him whacked in the first 5 minutes was a brilliant decision. I mean, smart move, guys. Way to just crap all over your fans and invalidate everything they've come to expect from a Terminator movie. But maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe, just maybe, even having done that, I could actually see how you could still go on to make a good Terminator movie. Surely, you've got the actor who portrayed the original Terminator. He's involved in the film now, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the title character of the movie, basically, the Terminator. Yeah, he's a bit old now, but these days, That's no longer a problem, as de-aging effects have now gotten so good and the cost has come down so much, to such an extent that it's now very common to have older actors appear in movies and get digitally de-aged. But no, you don't get badass Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator. No, they turn him, his cameo role is more or less he's a Terminator who, I'm not making this up, makes draperies and curtains. The Terminator makes drapes. And the new future leader of the human resistance, the Great Warrior, who will save us all now that John Connor has been eliminated, well, we learned it's actually now a 5'1" tall, 100 pounds if she's soaking wet Mexican teenage girl. Who, of course, over the course of the film, she has to cross into the United States illegally and take on, you guessed it, ICE or CBP. I mean, and she's got help, yeah. Linda Hamilton's in the movie. How about that? She played Sarah Connor, the mother of the future, the hero of the first two films. Her son was ganked by the Terminator in the beginning of this movie, so we find out that she's become a crazy old lady who hunts down Terminators, except in this movie, apart from her entrance, doesn't really do much. So the hero of the film, the person that gets sent back from the future to protect the new hero of the human race, the 5'1" warrior of the future, they send back an androgynous, almost non-binary chick with short hair and who wears men's clothes. I'm not making this up. This trio, short Mexican teen, non-binary cyborg, and crazy old lady, this is the movie they came up with. And then they dial the cringe up to 11, people. There's dialogue in here like Sarah Connor telling the future savior, hey, they only care about your womb. Assuming at first that, of course, this 5'1" teenage girl cannot be the savior of humanity, surely, like Sarah Connor, she assumes that she's being targeted because she'll be the mother of the man who is humanity's last hope. But no, over an hour into this crapfest, you find out that it is in fact her. She is the savior. Which, again, if that's really the way you wanted to go with this movie, alright, fine. Sell it to me then. This girl, though, she's so small, so unconvincing as a ferocious warrior and potential leader, it's almost comical. This thing is just about 2 hours of respect whamming and diversity bingo. And in case you had any doubt about that, let me dispel that. The director of the movie, Tim Miller, did an interview with Variety before this movie even came out, where he claimed that the lead actress of his movie, Mackenzie Davis, will, quote, scare the fuck out of misogynists, and dismissed early criticism of all this wokeness that was clearly present in the marketing for the film by saying he didn't care, it's just trolls on the internet. Well, apparently those trolls on the internet, they must watch a lot of movies because no one came out to see this movie. Certainly they didn't. So when is Hollywood going to figure out that if you make movies to please the woke Twitterati, there just aren't enough of those people to support a global blockbuster film? The irony here is that Terminator already had a strong female character. This was a franchise that same internet trolls had no problem watching when a woman, Sarah Connor, was central to the films. Like Ellen Ripley, played by Sigourney Weaver back in the 1980s and early 1990s era, when Terminator was at its most relevant, the character of Sarah Connor was seen as heroic. In the first movie, it's Sarah Connor who winds up defeating the Terminator at the end. She manages to do it in a believable way, and she did so in a fierce defense of herself and her future unborn son that she was already carrying. In Terminator 2, you see how that experience basically upended her entire life, and she would do anything to see that her son, the future John Connor, would survive and grow up to be the kind of man who could potentially save the world. This wasn't demeaning to women, didn't make her a lesser character. In fact, it is her character who in that film also managed to grab fate by the horns, and she wound up willing the group to stop the rise of Skynet in the first place. Once again, it was Sarah Connor who wound up as a central hero of the movie and prevented Judgment Day. her son didn't need to become the great hero. Now, obviously, later movies messed around with that, but as of the end of that movie, she was really basically the hero of the first and second film. I never heard anybody complain about it. No one made a big deal that she was a woman. They just made good movies, and the actress Linda Hamilton, she crushed it. They never made her do anything that was so outside the realm of possibility that you cringed. I mean, back then, Hollywood didn't have this odd thing that they have today where every female character, is a 120-pound woman that ragdolls 200-plus-pound men, knocks them out in one or two punches, shrugs off blows that would cripple, most male soldiers in real life. No, she fought, but she did so within the parameters that they established for her character. In the first movie, she's a young woman, she's in good shape, doing her best to stay alive against a cyborg. In the second movie, she's shown as a woman who's dedicated years of her life into molding her body to be a lot stronger, learning to fight, how to use weapons. She could definitely take out, say, a paunchy middle-aged male office worker, or the overweight hospital orderlies that she was struggling with. But she wasn't going toe-to-toe with cybernetic assassins like she was some kind of superhero. She wasn't throwing Arnold Schwarzenegger around like he was a kitten. All right, and that was fine. In fact, it's even more heroic to prevail when your character is not a superhero. You know, one of the oldest stories in the world is the biblical story David versus Goliath, right? When a young boy takes on the greatest warrior in the land, a literal giant. He doesn't beat him by charging forward and suddenly taking the giant on, a beast more than 3 times his size in physical combat. He puts a stone in his sling and beats him in the head. That's how he beats the giant. Does that make David, the male, I might add, and make him any less of a hero because he didn't take on Goliath with a spear and a shield in his hand and go toe-to-toe? No. It made him that much more heroic because he took on Goliath when no one else would. And he won, by doing what he was capable of doing. But in Hollywood's zeal, to give us these strong female characters, they forget that if you tell a good story and you stick with what you can sell on screen, whether the writer and the actress, if she's capable of pulling it off, most people won't care if your hero's a male or a female. I mean, those Terminator movies in the 80s and 90s, they made a crap ton of money with Linda Hamilton as the lead actress starring opposite Arnold Schwarzenegger. This injection of wokeness into a franchise where the most established character in it, Sarah Connor, is a woman, provides that fans of the film don't dislike women. They're not afraid of strong women. No, what people don't want is to have woke feminist intersectional nonsense rubbed in their face for 2 hours and pay to have it done. Look at TV. They're doing the same thing on TV now, and it's completely tanking. HBO put out a new series based on the Watchmen graphic novels. I say based on, but it's not. Oh my God, it's awful. They took one of the original characters, I think a lot of people's favorite character, in my experience, Rorschach, and then they turned his followers into a horrible, warped and distorted version of what he espoused. I mean, he was an objectivist. It bears no resemblance to the source material, either the comics or the movie. And fans are voting with their eyes or their remotes, or the lack of them. Because the first episode of this disaster on HBO only managed a paltry 1.5 million viewers across all HBO platforms. Think about that. PewDiePie could release a video today of himself farting for 15 minutes while he plays Minecraft. That video would get 4 or 5 million views. HBO puts out Watchmen and can only draw 1.5 million viewers for the first episode. But wait, Neo, you might be already asking yourself, surely if there's a good story being told, if the show is good, they can grow their audience. Look at what happened with Game of Thrones after all. That audience, it wasn't there at the beginning. It grew because the show was good, which is fine. Except that's the opposite of what's going on with Watchmen. Watchmen is losing viewers, and it's losing them fast. Episode 2, they lost 200,000 viewers. Episode 3, they lost another 100,000 viewers. Look at the Rotten Tomatoes score. I mean, it's typical. The critics absolutely love this woke political garbage. 96% rating on the tomato meter, the professional critic class. The actual audience, the regular people who watch it, 42% rotten. And it holds up when you see that 20% of the already small audience have disappeared in just 2 weeks. Is it possible that by episode 4 or 5, a Watchmen series on HBO falls below 1 million viewers? I mean, my God, that is cancel territory. That's that bad. You know, for what this thing could have been? Are you kidding me? Had HBO just given us the Watchmen that we wanted, that thing would have had millions of viewers. Instead, they give us this, the wokeness, and hardly anybody's watching. Compare this to Game of Thrones Season 1 in 2011, 8 years ago. Episode 1, 2.2 million viewers. And back in 2011, the average person on the street, they'd never heard of Game of Thrones. It was based on a series of fantasy novels, A Song of Ice and Fire. You know, not the household name it is today. Believe me, there weren't a lot of people who'd read the books. You know, at least, I'm talking about in television audience terms. Of course, if you were into fantasy, those you knew about those books. So even for this thing that only existed in an unfinished collection of books at that time, they drew over 2 million viewers. So episode 1 was 2.2 million. Episode 2, they stayed flat. They kept their audience about 2.2 million. Episode 3, whoa, a jump there up to 2.4 million. Episode 4, they maintained their new viewers. So episode 5, another jump, almost 2.6 million viewers. Wow, up almost 400,000 from their open. Episode 6 and 7, a bit of a dip there. Could have meant some trouble, but, you know, they dropped only to 2.4 million. You know, but they still more people than had watched the first episode, so not a total disaster. Episode 8, the final episode, a huge jump up to 2.72 million. The most watched episode up to that point. 500,000 more people had watched the first episode, so that's 500,000 more than their initial premiere, and it took off from there. By the end of season 2, they were getting 4 million viewers an episode. Season 3, they got up to 5 million, into the 5 million range. By the final episode, in season 8, as bad as it was, as horrible an ending they had, 13.6 million people watched it. So that is the size of the audience that you can potentially reach on HBO when you have a smash hit. Watchmen, hovering just over 1 million viewers and headed down. This is the opposite of that. So, look, they're doing no better over at the CW network. You know, woke cringe fests, Batwoman and Supergirl, they're hemorrhaging viewers. This is cancellation territory, people. Batwoman dropped another 100,000 viewers from week 4 to 5 of its first season, down to only 1.1 million viewers. Supergirl, oh my God. Supergirl, 810,000 viewers. What the hell are they doing? 170,000 viewer drop from that show's last episode, episode 4. Look at Batwoman's progression. This is what wokeness does to a TV show. Batwoman's first episode was 1.8 million viewers. This is just a month ago. The lowest rated premiere for any of the CW's DC Comics-based Arrowverse shows. Week 2, it lost 340,000 viewers, down to 1.46 million. Week 3, lost another 230,000 viewers. Week 4, they stabilized the 1.2 million viewer range, but as of week 5, they lost another 100,000 viewers. They jumped ship. You know, they're just hovering over 1 million viewers at this point. Supergirl, similar trajectory this season, opened at 1.3 million viewers 5 weeks ago. Almost half that audience is gone. A drop of 500,000, down to 810,000 viewers, a new series low. This is a show that when it debuted, you know, okay, it was on a national TV network for its first season, CBS, but still, it got 13 million people to watch season 1, episode 1 of Supergirl. Now, I understand they changed networks to the much smaller and not universally available CW network, but come on, did over 12 million people all vanish in a Thanos snap? You know, between now and October of 2015 when this show started? What, they can't find the CW on their cable guide? They wanted to watch the show when it was on CBS, but now they just don't know how to find it? Is that it? No, people aren't watching Supergirl. They're not watching Batwoman. Hell, even the other CW Arrowverse shows, they're starting to suffer because they're all connected. Because it's all politically driven, woke, cringe nonsense. Every other character is seemingly shoehorned in to check some diversity box, The storylines are heavy-handed, social justice preaching. These shows, they're not any good. And yes, I mean, what it is this. The movie that the SJW, Twitterati, and the mainstream media that they insisted to us was going to bring about the incel apocalypse, an unending stream of white male copycats running around in Joker masks, reveling in mayhem. Joker is smashing box office records. And despite, I mean, this is amazing. Despite having an R rating, okay, and zero distribution in China because of that rating, Joker's cruising to top $1 billion at the box office. Guys, this is technically a comic book movie. The Joker is a character out of a comic. The Joker movie, write this down, this movie will probably win an Oscar. Have you seen a better movie this year? Because I know I haven't. This movie, oh my God, about a white male. He can't have that. It's not diverse. I mean, clearly they should have recast the Joker, not as Joaquin Phoenix, but a left-handed two-spirit transitioning Australian Aborigine whose pronoun is Zir. I mean, I can't believe this. I called it a month ago, before the stupid movie opened, when I said in this video that the so-called incels, the trolls, the deplorables, if you will, that they were going to go see this movie just to stick it to the woke Twitterati who seem to think it's a good marketing strategy to dump all over the people who form the largest portion of their reliable customer base. So while Terminator loses money like a drunk sailor on shore leave, and Watchmen, Batwoman, Supergirl, they shed viewers like people fleeing the Titanic, the people who put out Joker, they're raking into cash. People are throwing money at them. I know people who've seen this movie 2-3 times. It's nuts. They're wrecking Star Wars. They're in the process of wrecking the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you think Captain Marvel, one of the most unloved characters in the comics, portrayed by one of the most unlikable actresses in Hollywood, Brie Larson, can even hope to carry the franchise the way that Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and that crew did. I mean, Downey Jr., Hemsworth, and Evans, even as flawed as Evans is, for the most part, his run as Captain America, he did manage to keep away from popping off too much on the SGW stuff until near the end. But I just don't see it. I mean, that's what Disney's whole panic about was when they lost the rights to Spider-Man and their little spat that they had with Sony. Disney, they had to make a deal with Sony because they know without Spider-Man, there was no way they were going to put the weight of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, their biggest moneymaker, on the wholly inadequate shoulders of Brie Larson's Captain Marvel. I'm glad these people are seeing this experiment in woke, politically driven caca end in failure. I can't say they weren't told it was going to happen. That's all for this New Unrealist. If you want to help the channel, do me a favor, hit the like button for this video. Leave a comment below, mash down on the subscribe button if you're not already subbed to the channel. Click on the notification bell beside it. You put it on the all setting to keep up with newer content. Now, if you want to contribute directly to the channel and toss your hard-earned dollars into the tip jar, follow the links below to Subscribe Star, PayPal. If you watch this on BitChute, you can just click on the green tip pledge button on the video player. Thanks for watching.